Welcome to Research Methods in Computers and Society, CS 312 course at Pace University. In this lectures, we're going to cover chapter 12 of our course textbook. And the topic for chapter 12 is entry, coding, and also analyzing qualitative data. So our main objective in these lectures, again, is chapter 12 of our course textbook, entry, coding, and analyzing qualitative data. So our objective is to describe how to enter, screen, and also organize qualitative data. Also examine and code raw data and analyze qualitative data. Now, when we're analyzing qualitative data, our main goal is counting or finding the mode. Because we know qualitative data can be either nominal or ordinal. And mostly nominal data will be in words or a text. So it's not in numerical form. So our main focus will be, again, in the mode or counting. So that's why when we are analyzing a quantitative data, we can use parametric testing, such as finding the N over T testing for our hypothesis. But when we are using qualitative data, we may do non-parametric testing, where we can get used something like chi-square or sign test, etc. Quantitative data is a numerical data, so we can either focus on the mean of the data or test the standard deviation, such as the N over, basically to learn how the data is varies in 3 or more different samples. So here we're going to focus again in qualitative data. So here we say qualitative information needs to be sorted, organized, and coded, just like quantitative data. So the data preparation method is the same. The difference is that, as we said, quantitative data is a numerical data. So we can do a lot of arithmetic operations. And we can also use the parametric testing methods to analyze the data. Whereas in qualitative data, we are dealing with nominal data or a test or worse, which means we have to use non-parametric method. And our main focus most of the time will be counting method or finding the frequency. So qualitative information, again, needs to be sorted and also organized, coded, just like quantitative data. In addition also to raw data, we can create a separate file with records, including how many interviews, case studies, observations we conducted. This is just for our record. And also this is just a conventional method or a suggestion from the author of this textbook. We can create a separate files whereby we keep records of number of interviews we have, or if our research is based on case studies, then the data we get from the case studies, observations, etc. This can include, again, the basic informations, especially example would be the date of the interview, the time, or the duration of the interview, or the location. Then the major content of the interview, the objectives, what type of data we are collecting, type of studies. So we need to create codes for participants to protect their confidentiality. When we say to create a code, or for example, even a very simple one will be, we can have a code that 1 means female, 2 means male, or 0 means you don't have the case, 1 means you have the case, or you tested positive or negative for, let's say, a disease or any studies outcome. So we're going to learn how to, again, name coding for participants to protect their confidentiality. As we all know, most of the secondary, we cover the secondary data in somewhere around chapter 8. And we discussed that most of the secondary data are data that has been used by other researchers, and they provided the data online for most of the time free access to other scientific communities or academia communities to use for, again, studies. So most secondary data is already prepared. The coded has been done already, the data preparation, organization of the data, everything has been done. We don't need to do anything just to use the data. That's a secondary data. But if we collect our data from the field, that's a primary data, then we need to follow all this. We need to do our data preparation for our primary data. So transcription is very important. We need to write down everything we hear from a recorded interview, including non-verbal sounds. And also we need to take time to do this thoroughly. That will allow us to become familiar with our data. So transcription, very important. When we are again transcribing the data, everything needs to be written down. Also, we need to create a set of ground rules for transcription and also protect the confidentiality of our participants when transcribing. Also, we discuss about ethics in research. We talk about security of the participants, confidentiality, especially privacy. So this way, again, we can omit the names of participants and assign a special unique ID number to the participants. So as a first step in memoir, after we transcribing, we should read the transcribed interviews a few times. Here we want to make sure everything is correct. There's no any error or noise in the data set. We need to take extensive memos and notes. At first, we shouldn't worry about categorizing the data while, again, doing the memo. Here, our main goal is to take notes of the transcription. Then, after that, we can classify our memos. We have theoretical memos, which will be related to theory of the studies that we are doing. Let's say if it's a medical studies, then the medical theory. Also, self-reflection memos. This will be connected with the past experiences, maybe past studies that's related to the studies we are doing now. Also, hypothetical memos. This will propose the relationships between different parts of the narrative. Diagrams also are very important when we again getting our data together, qualitative data, even whether qualitative or quantitative. As we all know, a picture speaks more than or make us more clear than 1,000 words. Or we can say a picture is worth more than 1,000 words. And most of us also learn by visualizing the content. So diagrams are very important, especially let's say we collect a data set with two variables. So we want to find the relationship between the data. And well, the quickest way to do this is to plot the data. For example, plot it on a scatter plot. We can see all the line plot. We can see the pattern of the data in the plane. So diagrams can assist with record keeping and also provide a systematic and organized view of the data. So that's why, again, we all know most of the statistics applications always comes with visualization techniques or visualization application. Because, for example, we have so even in A common application like Excel, Microsoft Office, Excel, we have different types of visualization, graphs, example, pie chart, line chart, graph. All these charts, we can choose maybe the best one or two out of over 15 charts, depends on the type of data we have and the type of studies we are doing. Example, if I'm finding relationship between two variables correlation, most likely I will get a scatter plot or I may use a line plot. Now, if I have a categorical data with 5 or 6 different categories or attributes, maybe I may use a column chart. Or if I want to know exact percentage of each category, I may end up using pie chart. So we have so many visualizations tools. Almost every data analysis application comes with visualization tools. And we always say that data analysis or researching, trying to analyze our data, always start with visualization. Visualization will make us see the pattern of our data so easily. Also, when presented with a written information, we also need to examine it to search for the underlying meaning. I think it's very straightforward. Always, we have to make sure we understand the principles, the terminology, or the background behind our studies. And this can lead us to understand our data. Even data analysis process, the most exhaustive step and time-consuming step is when we are preparing the data preparation phase. Now, to find this many coding is necessary also. A code is just a word or few words that capture the common meaning or categorization. And also coding can involve aggregating the text or visual data into small categories of information. Now we have two types of coding that are available. The first one is the in vivo coding. In vivo coding, or when we see a word or expression in a text that seems important. So example can be a vegetarian. We also have a pre-existing coding. This number, again, the keyword is pre, which means created before we start the coding by making a list of things we are hoping to find in the text. Pre-existing codings. And after coding, we need to, or we can group the codes into larger categories. Now, it depends on the type of data you have and the type of analysis you want to do, maybe hypothesis testing, whatever type of testing you want to do. But the general concept is to be good, especially if we have a lot of coding in our data, then it's very good that we can group the code into larger categories. So this is an example of categories which is given to us, similarities and differences in expressing the same phenomena, or similarities or differences in attitudes regarding a similar problem or situation. So after categorizing, we can now connect these groups into broader groups called terms. So the qualitative analytic process can be very challenging as each researcher is unique. In statistics, qualitative analysis, normally we use the non-parametric testing method, especially if it's hypothesis testing we are doing. And we cannot 100% have an accurate result because non-parametric testing, we will not assuming that our data is normal distributed, or we may use a parameter like a mean standard deviation, but we can't have it. So most likely we may only have the mode or the counting. So qualitative analysis, when it's performed correctly, can correct for individual differences between researchers. So we need to recognize the patterns. In qualitative work, is about looking for similarities in actions, words, events, or feelings. So we need to all recognize the patterns. As we said earlier, qualitative research is based on trying to find a new meaning theory or discovering a new phenomenon. So it's very important that we look for the similarities either in action, words, events, or feelings. These patterns emerge as we analyze the data. So qualitative analysis is similar to organizing our room. It's about bringing order from disorder. So the first step, we should remove extraneous information while keeping valuable information. And also second step, we assemble similarly code information and organize it into larger categories. Always we need to search for the frequency. Frequency can play a role in qualitative analysis. As we all know, qualitative analysis, we can't find the mean, we can't find the standard deviation or variation in the data. Most likely, again, frequency, the mode or the counting. So various packages or software programs can help us visualize our data. Most data analysis softwares always come with the visualization techniques too. And also we must be open-minded and consider diversity in our findings and also in our research. We may find diversity in terms of gender, sexual orientation, religiosity, education, income, and other characteristics. Always we should remember the past because again, past experience and personal history or other background surely can influence participants and also impact responses. Sometimes even our background and cultural values surely will influence the responses we get from participants. A very simple example, if I live in a culture that believe that if I have HIV, it's a curse from God or it's a curse from higher spiritual powers. When I have HIV, I will never expose it. I will never hide because it carries a big stigma. Now, if I'm living in other culture, mostly Western culture, any disease you have, it just happens. That's nature. It just happens. There's nothing like we are going to blame it because of what you did. You get a curse. So in the Western, most likely, if I have HIV, I can even go public, go to the media, national TV, online, to say that I have it. But in some culture, even to tell your own parents you have it, is an issue. So past experience, personal history, and also culture or backgrounds can influence how we get response from our volunteers or participants in our research. Also, we need to consider this element because it will yield higher quality data analysis and also stronger study. Now, when we identify responses we are getting and the type of data we have, and we understood the background, everything solid, that will surely make us get a good result in our studies and be able to organize our data in the very best way that will influence how the data was collected. Also, we need to think theoretically. So there's countless of theories available to us, many of which you may not remember, but we need to refresh our memory on some key theories and use them to make connections between our data and also the larger theoretical context. As we said earlier, data analysis is a very big field. And most of the time, data preparation is the most important, unique step that will determine the result of our analysis. If we didn't prepare the data well and there's an error, then our results we won't get a correct result. And there are so many techniques in preparing data. Very simple, like selecting the right data, taking the sample, making sure we have the right number of sample. The process of taking sample, we have probabilistic method, non-probabilistic method. It depends if the participants are variable or not, and also what type of parameters or variables that we are going to test. Now, if I'm doing study that I need exactly 10 men and 10 women, because the study will find difference of how men react to some exposure and how women react to some exposure. This means I have to use a different method of collecting this data. I will not use a simple random sample, because a simple random sample can give me all the 20 participants can be only men. I can't get exactly 20-20 or 10-10. So maybe I may use a cluster sampling or some other method. So that's very important. Also, we need to think critically. The ability to think critically is developed over time by exposure to different ideas. And one of the main goals of as a researcher, critical thinking, very important. Critical thinking is solving problems. Try to put things together in the right places. Try to discover the puzzles, the patterns, and put everything in order. Also, we should remember that if you are fully clear and certain about your direction in the analysis, it will not again be a learning process. This is a reminder that if we are fully clear and we are certain about our direction in the analysis, then it will not be a learning process. Learning process means maybe we make some error and we learn from that error. So if we are very clear with our data preparation, everything went smoothly, then we're sure we are going to get the right result from our analysis. It will be a process where we are learning a new way or making some errors. And also we should be very comfortable with the degree of initial uncertainty and confusion about our, again, research process. Remember that confusion can encourage productive critical thinking. Also. And this will be, again, the conclusion of chapter 12 of our course textbook. And again, if you have any question about this chapter, you can send an email. This chapter will be in our final exams, which is a week from now. Thank you and wish everybody the best.